I quit my second dental hygiene job. My last day was Monday, November 18th. I have been relaxing ever since. I'm packing up to go home to Florida to see my family for Thanksgiving, and I have been beyond excited. Even the days leading up to my 2 weeks, I was excited. I'm gonna be temping full time. Even though I haven't started, I feel like a breath of fresh air. I felt like that job was so stressful. I felt like I was overworked. I didn't have the help I needed to fulfill the path that they were going on. So I just ultimately decided that I needed to leave the job. There were so many things that was going on within the position that I didn't like and I didn't agree with, and I stuck it out because, one, I wanted to finish my Invisalign treatment. I at least wanted to make it to my 1-year mark and have that on my resume, because whenever I don't like something, I just up and leave, and I didn't want that to be I didn't want that to be a consistent pattern on my resume. I took a lot of notes, so I want to make sure I include everything in this video. I talk about it a little bit on my TikTok, but I wanted to actually like sit down and go into details about some things that was going on within my job, because the attention span on TikTok is very minimal, and I feel way more comfortable talking on here than on TikTok. But anyways, when I got the job, it was amazing. Like, I really enjoyed it. I like that there were 2 assistants there in the office that helped me whenever I was like busy. They would bring my patient back, they would polish for me, take x-rays. Like, we all were in agreement that we were going to help each other out, especially in sterile. I don't mind helping. I'm at work to work, so it kind of defeats the purpose of just sitting around and not doing anything at work. So I like to keep myself busy, whether that's like catching up on my notes, making sure my patients come in for the next day, looking at my schedule for next day, help bring their patients back, because sometimes their psych is busy as well, helping out in sterile, because I know when it's time for me to finally put my instruments in the ultrasonic, I would want it to be empty, because it takes a lot of time, especially if you have a patient right after, because you got to take out the instruments, you got to wet them, you got to put them to the side. It's a lot of steps. So when I come in to sterile, I just want to be able to just put my instruments in the ultrasonic bath and go about my business. I like to help out, especially if I like my coworkers. I like all of my coworkers, but I started to, so I like them as like people. We had like good conversations, but to work with them, I would rather not. I would rather not work with the coworkers I had. They're cool people to talk to, but to work with, no. Besides the girls that started before me, they were there for a bit, but then once I got there, it started changing. They left and they wanted more money. The company wasn't offering more money. After those 2 assistants left, it just started to, I wouldn't say go downhill, but it kind of went downhill. Instead of getting 2 assistants, we got 1. That was for a good couple months, and she helped me whenever she could. I really didn't mind her not helping, because it's just her, and it would get busy sometimes. But she'll bring my patients back, she'll polish them, she'll take x-rays, she'll make sure sterile is good. And then she left, and then we got 2 new assistants. That's when, they started to do their own thing, and I didn't think polishing was that big of a deal. I enjoy polishing patients. Even when I was waiting for my license, I didn't mind polishing. I feel like polishing is the best part of the cleaning. Some people absolutely do not like to polish, and I really didn't think that it was that big of a deal. Even the last assistant, she didn't like polishing, but she helped me. She helped me polish patients. But the other assistant, she absolutely hated polishing. Like, she wouldn't even do it at all. And to me, I feel like that's not a team player, because it's not that many of us in the office, and it's not like I have my own assistant, so I need help as well, especially if you have so much downtime. Like my side was always booked and busy for the most part. I'll have some days where I didn't have, maybe like one day out the week I'll have a day where I'm not busy, but for the most part I'm pretty busy. But the doctor side, he was hardly ever busy. I started to gain like some resentment towards my coworkers because it's like, dang, you guys have all of this downtime and I don't, and I really need help, and all you guys want to do is sit at the desk and cackle and have conversations. And I'm just like, dang, I'm back here busting my butt making sure my instruments are going in the autoclave, making sure I am basically doing sterile. So I'm doing sterile and cleaning my patient while the assistants are up front not helping. And I would ask for help, but then it got to the point where it was like pulling teeth, and I didn't want to do that no more. I just started to figure out ways on how I can like maneuver certain patients or just plan my appointments better, so I'm like quicker with some but take time for others, or just try to pull certain patients back earlier if they come in. And that helped for the most part, but sometimes it didn't work out, and I would run behind a lot. And yeah, and then there were times where the front desk would schedule patients at the same time, and it's just like, it's only one of me, so how am I gonna juggle 2 patients at the same time? Or they would want me to clean the new patient and recall patient at the same time in the same day, and I'm just like, it was super exhausting doing that. So after like the doctor would examine, he would just send patients over and like, hey, this patient's getting a cleaning today. And I'm just like, well, dang, in 15 minutes? So yeah, I would like run over a lot, but the doctor would scale if I'm like running absolutely behind. But for the most part, they would overwork me, and I got tired. It was exhausting. It got to the point where I was just so tired and drained. I just started coming in late. I hated going in. I'm already quiet, so I was even more quiet. Like I didn't want to talk to nobody. And then it was some days where I was just beeline it to my operatory and not speak, because I already knew it's gonna be a long day for me without help. I enjoyed the patients. I built relationships with some of the patients that came in there. I've learned a lot. I became more confident. I'm still not confident, but I've gained so much more confidence since the beginning of my hygiene journey. It was just time for me to leave. I knew that if I stayed, then I wouldn't feel valued. I don't know how to explain it. The vibes were weird in the office. Like there were days where it was just weird to me. To me, there were days where I felt like they didn't like me, and then there were days where they liked me. So I was just like, I don't know, it was just weird. The dynamic was weird. And then I also felt like they were doing certain things to like get under my skin, and then like the next day we were cool, I guess. I don't know, it was just weird. It even got to the point where they didn't want to put up my instruments. Like, I don't know, for me, whenever I'm in sterile and things come out of the autoclave, of course some things get wet, you want them to dry, but when I come back, I put up everything because I know where everything goes. And if I don't, I'll leave it, or I let them know, or I would search through the drawers if I have enough downtime. Like I would search through the drawers to see where certain things would go. But for me, when it was time for them to put my instruments up, like I will have piles of my cassettes on the side, and I have one cabinet where all of my hygiene things goes, where as opposed to their stuff, their things are all spread out. But I have one cabinet, and they couldn't even put my cassettes in that one cabinet. Everyone knows where my hygiene instruments cassettes go, and they couldn't even put it in that one cabinet. So I felt like they were messing with me, because it's just like I have one cabinet. I have one cabinet to myself. Yeah, it was just weird. This video is probably gonna be all over the place, but I'm trying to stay on task. I'm trying to stay focused. Anyways, the office started to slow down a bit. Like it wasn't as busy. The manager thought it was a good idea for me to stay in the office 2 days a week and then travel to another office the other 2 days. I asked her, since I'm traveling those 2 days, will I be compensated? And she was like, no, because it has to be at least over 60 miles for me to get compensated. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm for sure leaving. But in that moment I told her yes, because I didn't have a plan. I was building my plan. I was building everything to have everything lined up for me to leave. But at the time I was like, yeah. And in Oklahoma, at least from what I've gathered, everything isn't close. These offices aren't close. It's like 20 minutes here, 15 minutes there, an hour there, at least within the company that I was working with. Like the offices were not close. And I'm in the city, so you had to travel a bit to get to some of these offices. It wouldn't have been a long-term thing for me. I don't call out often. I've been calling out lately because I've been so exhausted, drained. I just needed a day. I wasn't feeling well and I needed a day to at least gather myself. I think I called out maybe 3 times the whole year, the whole time I was with the company. And there was one specific time that I called out, and it was a situation regarding my son. I had texted her the night before to let her know, like, this is what's going on with my son. I'm not gonna be able to make it. She didn't text back, which is okay, but she normally texts back. But I really didn't care for her to text back. It wasn't that deep for me, but it was just how she conducted herself after. I come into work the next day and she didn't speak. Like, she ignored me. She spoke to everybody else, and I was just like, that's odd. So I kept progressing with my day and she still didn't speak, and I was like, oh, so she has an issue with me. I didn't talk to her about it because we're grown, and I feel like we shouldn't be giving each other the silent treatment. Like, if I have an issue, I would go up to you and address the issue, but you just didn't want to speak. So I was just like, well, that's weird. I think that week I put in my 2 weeks and I didn't give it to her. I don't think she was there, but it was busy, and we had like some weather situation going on, so we all came in late. But I handed in my 2 weeks. I left it on the doctor's desk, and he spoke to me like that day later on, but she didn't speak to me. It took her a week to speak to me about my 2 weeks. And I don't know, her excuse was that she was just busy, life is lifing, and I didn't care. Like, I had a week left, and honestly I didn't care at that point. Like, I went about my day. I felt like maybe everyone knew, but I wasn't gonna bring it up because I handed in my letter. At least somebody knew that I wasn't coming in 2 weeks later. That's all I cared about. No one really talked about it at work until it was the day before the meeting, our weekly meeting, which was okay. So I am taking the rest of November off, and when I come back I have a temping schedule. So I'm with an agency, and I'm kind of nervous because no one's really ever heard of the agency. Based off of the interview I had with the manager, it seemed like they're booked and busy, and for the most part I haven't had any troubles in getting jobs, so that's pretty good. They pay really well. There's no benefits, so that's another thing I'm like scared about. So far I have dental insurance. I'm trying to figure out medical and vision. Vision is usually always cheap. Dental I've always had since I was in hygiene school. Yeah, it's just the benefit aspect that has me so nervous. And also, like, the agency, since I've never heard of them, I don't know what to expect. So far it's good things. The only thing I don't like about the agency is that they want to call me all the time about jobs instead of like texting it to me. But I guess it makes sense to make sure, like, you know you're getting a job. But I don't know, I'm introvert and I don't want to do too much talking. But yeah, y'all, hopefully by the time I like edit everything, it'll be more like cohesive it don't make more sense. But yeah, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and of course subscribe to my channel, and see you guys in the next video.